Rachel is a philosophy of religion PhD student at the University of Birmingham in the UK. She dances to the beat of existentialism, esoteric, and psychotherapy. Now and again, a pinch of theology is in the mix due to that one time she went to seminary to remedy an existential crisis prompted by her prior military career. Other than that, she's commonly found sitting by fire pits pondering existence and thinking of these events you're sitting in now, because philosophy is for the people and existence is meant to be talked about together.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to do it anyways. All right. Very good, Cody. Very good. All right. I'll try and do this quick and concise. And I too will use the board in order to try and keep it quick and concise. To keep myself in line here, we'll not start writing yet. Okay. So, in existentialism, there's not really any things that are like sacred. We don't really have any sacred text per se. But there are things that we like look at that kind of exemplify what existentialism is and like plays it out. So we have novels and we've got plays. And like one of those plays, I'll go over with you. But there's this French playwright, and his name's Samuel Beckett. And Samuel Beckett wrote a play called Waiting for Godot, G-O-D-O-T. Yeah. Yes. So just some foreground. Godot is not French for God. It will seem like it is as we start talking about the story here. So Waiting for Godot is a part of something called a genre of theater, the theater of the absurd. And the absurd is a theme that comes from another existentialist philosopher named Albert Camus. He's another Frenchman. So I speak in French to you. French word. Wait. Okay. So Albert Camus, when he talks about the absurd, he wants to say that life is absurd because we keep doing things in life that try and give it meaning. Like all your daily habits, all the things you like to do, you do it because you're trying to find meaning in life. But underneath all of that, and you can sense it, there's meaninglessness underneath it all. You'll do something, the moment will fade, and there'll be meaninglessness just waiting for you. And it freaks you the fuck out. So you go and do other things really quick. Keep your mind off of it. So why would people even start thinking this way? Well, existentialism came from really hard times, mainly, in a big way, when the Nazis came to occupy France. So you had people, and they thought they knew how life worked. They had gods, and they thought they knew how God worked, and how country worked, and how neighbor worked, and life made sense. You could grasp how the day was going to go. Things are predictable. Things feel certain. And then the Nazis came in. They grabbed the rug of meaning and ripped it right out from under them. So what happens when your meaning crumbles because someone shows you the way you thought things worked? Bullshit. Leaves you in a state of chaos. Things you used to lean on and make sense of things, like it's all senseless now. You got no grounding. Feels like darkness. So anyways, Waiting for Godot. I'll paraphrase this for you. So, it starts off with this tree, and it's like this withering tree, and it's in the middle of nowhere, and no one's around. And some would say that this tree symbolizes the tree of life. If it is so, I don't know. We're going to go with it because it makes my case. And there's these two characters who I'm going to draw out looking like lollipops right now. And there's these two gentlemen. And they're waiting for Godot. And Godot could be a deity or a person, remains totally unknown and unsaid. But they're waiting there for him. And they don't know, like, when he's coming, how he's coming, if this tree in the middle of nowhere is even the right place. So they have this time on their hands. And one of the characters, he takes his shoe on and off, and he's examining it and putting it back. And then that moment fades. And then they start complaining about how bored they are. That moment fades. They start complaining about how fucking hungry they are. They start eating carrots and turnips. That moment fades. Then they start getting really reflective and start contemplating God, the Bible, deities. That moment dies. Then they start to contemplate suicide. That moment dies. But then two new characters come out of the woodworks. There's a slave and a master. And the slave has a rope around his neck, and the master's tugging him like this. And then the master says, hey, I got this slave, and he can think and he can dance. And he can help you pass the time while you wait here. So, The slave starts thinking out loud, gibberish, and he starts dancing. Does that a few times, and then they leave. And then this boy comes out of nowhere and goes, hey, Godot's not coming today, but for sure, he'll be here tomorrow. And then the two gentlemen look at each other and they say, well, we should go do something else because we don't have to wait for Godot anymore. And ultimately, they stay right where they are. In scene 1, in day 1. The next day comes, begins scene 2. A lot of the same shit happens. Nothing. So they start the day by talking about their dreams. That moment dies. Then they start complaining about how hungry they are again. Carrots, turnips. Then they contemplate suicide again, but they decide logistically it's impossible. This tree is withering and it just can't do the trick. That moment dies. And they decide to do a fitness routine really quick. Some calisthenics. That moment dies. And then a weird thing happens. The slave and the master come back, but something's changed. The slave, he can't speak. He's gone mute. And the master's gone blind. And the master comes up and he's like in a state of complete humiliation. He's despairing. And then they leave. And then the boy comes out of the woodwork and he goes, hey, Godot's not coming today, but for sure he'll be here tomorrow. And the two do the same thing they did the day before. They go, we should go do something else because we don't have to wait for Godot. And ultimately they stay right where they are. In scene 2, in the story. So there's like a lot of Camus' philosophy packed into that about the things we do in life to try to keep recreating meaning and running from the meaninglessness. Like one of those is you play sports and you get into fitness. Another one that's symbolized by the master and the slave is this need for power. If we can climb the corporate ladder or be in control of people, this gives us a sense of meaning. And also symbolized in the master or the slave is the sense of entertainment, needing something to come in and entertain you in the dull moments. And then suicide. Sometimes you sense the meaninglessness and it's too much. And you can't find meaning anymore. So, what I want to do now is take a turn into something more philosophy or religion-minded or psychology-minded, depending on how you view the author of this book, of which I will tell you. And I want to stay on the subject of this tree of life and it meaning and meaninglessness. So I've got here, not the Bible, but Carl Jung's Red Book. And this thing's like extra interesting. So Carl Jung, he wrote this thing. He was having like a mental breakdown, like a legitimate psychological collapse. And he explored his own psychological breakdown by, I guess the best way to put it was he went into a meditative state and let his imagination run wild. And when he did that, he started seeing symbols. And then like figures would appear, like characters in his mind. And he started to have conversations with them. He would ask them questions and then these figures would give him answers. And all that dialogue is like in this book. And then this book later went on to become the psychology. So, in this particular part, this text that I'm getting in on, his soul is talking to him. He's in a little bit of a rough patch. He's broken up with Freud, so to speak, because he just viewed things differently and he felt like he just needed to go his own way. And he was doubting himself. And there's like this little excerpt in here where he's like saying, I'm not better than Freud, or I'm copying Augustine as he's writing this book. He's questioning if he should even write this because he feels like a piece of shit. He's got imposter syndrome. So, it's a conversation with his soul. The soul starts explaining to him what life is actually about and what this meaning and meaninglessness is. And the tree of life looks a little bit different than waiting for Godot's. It's like thriving and beautiful up top. There's fucking animals living in there, there's birds, all kinds of great stuff, and it's got this strong, awesome like trunk. And then it's got these thick, gnarly roots that are going deep, deep into the ground and interweaving with like everything. And the difference to start with is this tree, it doesn't symbolize life outside of you, meaning and meaninglessness. meaninglessness. This tree symbolizes the meaning and meaninglessness that's in you. Like, you are this tree. And things might get a little wobbly here, but they'll come together, promise. I don't promise, but I hope. So this top half symbolizes the meaning that we have in life. And what I mean by meaning is this top half, it's like out in the open, the light hits it. When you look at it, it's got form, it's got shape. You can clearly see what's going on. There's some certainty about it. It's predictable. You can make sense of things. So this is the order that we give to life, how we live our life. Give it your beliefs or whatever it is, however you make up the world and helps you make sense of things. And because it feels so good, we commonly refer to this as like light. And synonymous with that, good. When we're in the middle of order and we feel like we know what's up, we feel pretty secure, that feels good. That's the sweet spot for us. And then down here, we've got meaninglessness. Now because these roots are like in the ground where the sun doesn't show, when you look, there is no form. You don't know what the fuck's going on under the ground. It's formless, it's shapeless, there's no certainty to it. You have no grip on anything, it's the complete unknown. Anything could be going on under there. And when we enter into these things, it kind of makes us feel nervous, and it makes us doubt, and we have fear. Things are chaos, the opposite of order. And things feel dark. And because it comes with like fear and doubt, is bad. So, his soul wants to say to him, in reference to this, that there's an issue with calling this good, the boxes that you live in, and then when you step outside of those boxes, the chaos, the darkness, the fear, these unknown moments, bad. And he says that because this tree is you. You are order and you are chaos. You're dark and you're light. Your meaning and your meaninglessness all in the same package, just like this tree. It's got roots and they're different from the top, but this whole fucking thing is a tree. You take one thing away, the thing's dead. So, if it be that you are slipping out of meaning, or your meaning is dissolving because, let's say, Nazis, somebody from the outside has come along and showed you, fuck, this is not how the world works, and it shattered your meaning, or you're having like a Jungian moment where something inside you is not corresponding anymore with the box you were in. Traditions of the family, your religion, whatever it is. Your soul's like pulling you and going like, we're not here anymore. Start walking that way. And it wants you to go in the unknown. You have a tendency to reject it and kick and scream, try to like cling to the meaning hard, because you're so terrified because you can't find shape and form in the unknown. But he says you shouldn't kick and scream because, again, this is not something outside you. You're kicking and screaming against a part of you. A part of you that's like the best part of you. Because these roots in the darkness, that's where you soak up all the new wisdom that's coming for you. The nourishment comes from those depths in the unknown. And then what you do with that, you take that nourishment and you fucking grow yourself into new order, new light, and new meaning. So don't separate it. He calls it the divine child, and these two things taken together, and the divine child is growth. So, now I will read for you the text, because it's fucking beautiful, and it's a bit poetic. It tickles my fanny. So his soul says to him, but he who accepts what approaches him, because it is also in him, quarrels and wrangles no more, but looks into himself and keeps silent. He sees the tree of life, whose roots reach into hell, and whose top touches heaven. He no longer knows differences. Who is right, what is holy, what is genuine, what is good, what is correct. He knows only one difference, the difference between below and above. For he sees that the tree of life grows from below to above, and that it has a crown at the top, clearly differentiated from the roots. To him this is unquestionable. Hence he knows the way to salvation. To unlearn all distinctions except that concerning direction is a part of your salvation. Hence you free yourself from the old curse of the knowledge of good and evil, because you separated good from evil according to your best appraisal and aspired only to the good and denied the evil. Your roots no longer suckled the dark nourishment of the depths, and your tree became sick and withered. Therefore the ancients said that after Adam had eaten the apple, the tree of paradise withered. Your life needs the dark. But if you know that it is evil, you can no longer accept it, and you suffer anguish, and you do not know why. But if you return to the primal chaos, and if you feel and recognize that which hangs stretched between the two, then you discern the direction of growth only from below to above. And thus you forget the distinction between good and evil, for they are united only in growth. But you grow if you stand in the greatest doubt, and therefore steadfastness in doubt is a veritable flower of life. He who cannot bear doubt does not bear himself. Such a one is doubtful. He does not grow and hence does not live. Doubt is the sign of the strongest and the weakest. The strong have doubt, but the doubt has the weak. Therefore, the weakest is close to the strongest, and if he can say to his doubt, I have you, then he is the strongest. But no one can say yes to his doubt unless he endures wide open chaos. My speech is neither light nor dark, since it is the speech of someone who is growing. That is the way of life. You can call it neither good nor evil, pure nor impure. This is the way of growth. And that is Jung. That's literally it.
Yeah. Woo.